to the middle.
Okay, we'll jump right into our next availability. We're now joined by Jamie McMurray, driver of the number 1 Cessna Chevrolet. Jamie, coming in as our defending race winner from last fall's race here at Talladega Superspeedway. Talk a little bit about your thoughts on the weekend here at Talladega.
Is English okay?
In English, perfect.
English. I don't even know what just happened. Yeah, Talladega is one of the more laid-back weekends, I think, for all of us. It's typically one practice. If the car feels good, I'm glad that they do the practice based on, or the qualifying if it gets rained out based on your practice speed, because it gets all the cars on the track for at least one session, and then it's pretty laid back for the rest of the weekend until the race starts. So it's one of the calmer weekends that we get to have.
All right, we'll start right here in the middle with Tom, then come up to Stan.
Hi, Jamie. Tom
Hello.
Jensen, FoxSports.com. You've been very successful here. Is there any safe formula to guarantee you're around at the end of Talladega?
Absolutely not. I have rode in the back and won a race here before. I've also rode in the back and been crashed. So I think that, you know, the best way to go about it is to just race all day long. The downside to riding in the back is first off, you don't get to work with anybody and see who you think is going to want to work with you. You know, you develop these relationships throughout the race, and it might be with someone that you've drafted with in the past, or it might be somebody completely new, and you kind of make friends as the day goes along. And I think it's good to develop those and to race all day long, so when it comes down to the end, you know who's going to stick with you or who you think you'll work better with. I was in the back here in the spring race, and they had a 2-car wreck, and I ended up going through the grass and getting the front of my car ripped off, trying to be safe. So, man, I think that the best plan is to just race all day long and try to stay up front.
Okay, we'll go to Stan, then go to Mike.
Stan Creekmore with CompetitionPlus.com. Jamie, so this, as you described this weekend, very calm and everything, does that truly get you ready for the depth of racing here on that one day? Because this has been described as one of the most extensive mind races that you could think of.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, when you look at even the start of the race, pre-race here, it's pretty laid back because, you know, you have 450 miles of not as intense racing as what you have in the last 50 laps or the last 100 miles. It's yeah, I mean, I don't think you can't get all worked up now or even in the first half of the race because it means nothing. And so for the most part, it's about, you know, not getting torn up and just being there for the last really the last maybe 50 to 75 laps.
Okay, we'll take our next question. Mike, go ahead.
Mike Hembry, USA Today. Jamie, considering all the convoluted things that can happen here Sunday, is it realistic to think that teammates can help chase teammates in any significant fashion?
No, I don't think so. I think that when you get on the track, you help who's going to benefit you the most. I don't know. I think you'd be grasping for a story. It's going to be really hard to hang anyone out here intentionally. Typically, when someone gets hung out here, it's because they've made a bad decision, and you don't want to go with them, and so they end up getting hung out. So I don't know. I think you're grasping there for a story.
Jim, or is it Chris? Go ahead, Chris.
Chris Knight, Headstress.com. Jamie, can you talk about the new qualifying format here today and what strategy it'll place not only for a driver but for the teams as well?
Yeah, I know that there's a new qualifying format. I have to be honest, I have no idea what it is. I talked to Helton after, I think, the Daytona race, and they talked about the ideas that they had, and I remember at the time saying, yeah, that all sounds really good. Yeah, I think it's great that it's going to be in a shorter amount of time. I kind of know what's going on. I don't know 100%, but at the same time, I've been terrible at this format of qualifying at plate races. I don't think I've made it into the second round yet, and it's a little frustrating at the time, but it really doesn't matter where you qualify here, so that's why I haven't paid much attention to it.
Okay, we'll come over here for MRN, then go to Dustin and Ray.
Hi, Jamie. Tyler, MRN.
Do you sense any sort of urgency or frustration from Kyle, and have you given any words of encouragement about
Kyle Larson?
Yeah, about all his second place finishes.
Well, I mean, he wants to win, and he's done a really good job of putting himself in the right position. Maybe the caution flags haven't fallen exactly the way that they need to, but as long as he keeps doing what he's doing, I don't. I mean, urgent. He's 21. Everything's urgent in his life right now, and he'll get to have plenty of victories. He's done a really good job, but I haven't. I mean, in my conversations with him, there hasn't been any panic more than what there is for everybody else in the garage.
Okay, we'll go Dustin, then Ray, and then go to the back for some questions.
Dustin Long, MRN.com. Jamie, we've heard from a lot of people about the difficulty of trying to work your way up through the pack, I guess, with this package. Can you, I guess, kind of put us in the seat or describe the challenges of kind of if you're outside the top 10 or outside the top 20 and trying to move up, especially the latter part of the race, the challenges and what you're seeing, what you're facing, and what makes it so difficult?
I feel like every plate race, it gets harder and harder to go from the back to the front. I remember years ago riding in the back and saying with 50 laps to go or whatever number we picked out that we'll go to the front, and it seemed like at the time you could do that. Now you can't because we get 3 wide and we run 3 wide for most of the fuel run. It will single file out or maybe get to double file at some point, but most of the run is 3 wide, and you make your move like most places on a restart, and you hope you can get in the row that's moving to the front, whether that's making it the 3rd row, inside, wherever it is, inside, middle, outside. And then it's hard to pass after that. It's hard to go 4 wide because people don't want to go with you when you get past 3. So I think every plate race gets harder, and I think some of that comes from everybody getting smarter about plate racing, maybe being more patient. You used to just love the guys that were impatient because they'd always make the move and no one would go with them, and that would move your row forward. You just don't have that as much as what you used to.
Okay, we'll take our next question over to the right. Ray, go ahead.
Ray Dunlap, Fox Sports. Normally they talk about how the car is so important here. I'm assuming your car will be similar to Kyle's, but on a week-to-week basis, how similar are your setups the way you and he drive?
It's pretty close. At the beginning of the year, there were some setup stuffs that they worked out that Kyle really liked or that I liked and the other didn't. And once we figured out the differences, it's not much. Both teams have kind of stuck with that setup through most of the intermediate tracks. The short tracks are closer than what we have at the 1.5 miles, but it's pretty close. If one of us gets off at some point in practice, the other team is able to put that guy's setup in and be right where the other team is. So the cars are all built identical. I think most teams are on that same plan. So at the shop, the guys when they build chassis don't know if it's mine or Kyle's, or the same thing with the bodies. It's pretty much all the same. It's the setup stuff's a little different, but they're close enough that we can switch back and forth.
Okay, Michelle, do we have a question in the back?
Hi, Jamie. Jason Wirt, USA Radio Network. I have a son with autism, so I've followed your foundation. Could you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing lately with the Jamie McMurray Foundation?
Yeah, I mean it goes in spurts, and what we're doing. Artie has probably been the biggest contributor to the autism in the racing community. So we've obviously got to do a lot of cool stuff with his golf tournament, but it just it just depends on the time of year, and certainly April's a huge month for everybody in the autism community. But right now there's not a lot going on.
Okay, final question, Marty.
Marty Smith, ESPN. Jamie, generally from your perspective, having been in Cup for a long time, how much do you think drivers in Cup care what their peers think about them? And by peers, I mean other drivers, not your own team. And what drivers do you think in the current field genuinely don't care what their peers think of them?
Hey, Matt. I think it's all dependent. I mean, without having a list in front of me, that's a hard question to answer. And I think it's just I think it depends on the individual, and I don't know that it has to do with racing as much as just in life. And the people that worry about maybe what other people think of them. I don't know. That's a really you should just save that question for Matt, Marty. I think that's good.
What about you? How much do you care?
Well, I do care. I have to be honest. I think most people in this room would know that I don't know. I don't worry necessarily about what people think of me, but I hate disappointing people. I want people to respect me and to think a lot of me, and whether it's my ability, the kind of dad I am, just the kind of person I am. So, yeah, that means a lot to me to to have people think highly of me, and if I'm being honest, it would hurt my feelings when I don't think people respect me or think a lot of me. Yeah.